versus Pittsburgh Steelers matchup is pretty much a very special one to me. I'm a very proud Dallas native, but I cannot stand this football team. So, long ago, I made a decision to commit to a football team up in Pittsburgh that plays football the way that I envisioned it when I was learning about it. I have not left that team ever since. Now, the matchup with this year's version of the Steelers and this year's version of the Dallas Cowboys is a very intriguing one. Both teams are actually ravaged by injury. Apparently, uh, Demarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons are out for this particular game. I don't think Bland is playing either, from what I understood. And of course, there are questions along the offensive line of both teams. Ours have been ravaged by injury at this point. Three of the five starters on the offensive line are out, two of which are out for the season, with Troy Fautanu and James Daniels. Isaac Siamalu is uh, supposedly coming back, but we really don't October 3rd of 2024. We're not really sure if hopefully he will be, but yeah, I just think the offensive line play for us will suffer greatly once again. Um, I don't think that it's going to be as one-sided as some of our Steelers brethren actually feel. Actually feel. Excuse me. Um, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the breakdowns of some matchups that are probably going to be key for this game, and hopefully we go from there. So the first matchup I'd like to try to go over is, of course, our running game versus their defense. Now, of course, Dallas's defense, which is decimated by injury, um, excuse me, seems to or appears to have been a weak link as far as being able to stop the run. Hey, Jared, what's happening, brother? Um, they seem to be unable to stop the run. Um, However, for whatever reason, I really do think that it's going to be a type of running game that is going to be effective on our end, but it's going to be non-traditional. I do not think that Najee Harris will have a very good game with this game either. Unfortunately, I'm thinking probably like somewhere like 12 carries for 37 yards or something like that. I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that he is again going to wind up struggling with this particular game too. Um, and even though the matchup seems to be very favorable for him in the offensive line, I just don't think that the traditional way of running is going to get it done. I think that Dallas has actually watched film on Indianapolis and saw that they can use their linebackers. Their second year guy, but he seems to be pretty explosive too. So they'll probably attack the inside gaps, like both A gaps and B gaps, pretty effectively. That's where Najee Harris lives. Um, I don't necessarily like that they're giving Najee tosses still. I thought that was going to be done with Canada being booted out of being booted out of being booted off the team. Excuse me. Uh, and for whatever reason, I'm still seeing these toss plays being given to Najee instead of what I thought would be like stretch run plays. Um, I'm not seeing very many of those featuring Najee, and maybe it could be either a lateral movement issue or some sort of timing issue as far as getting the handoff to Najee in in the 6 or 7 holes. Um, And I'm not quite sure why we don't see a whole lot of stretch plays. Now, I do understand that at this point, the offensive line is actually not where it should be. So we may not need to introduce something that would literally stretch them thin as far as what their strengths are. But I don't think that Najee's gonna have. Hey, what's up, Will? Um, I don't think that Najee is going to have a good traditional game. Again, I just think that he'll probably be limited to 12 carries for 37 yards. Um, the toss plays that we're actually calling, I really don't like those for Najee. The inside zone run plays, I mean, of course, with attrition, those could be effective. But I would like to see more zone stretch plays with Najee, with a lead blocker. Okay, I get that, we may have to give a spread look to try to keep people out of the box. That's all well and good, but I think that if we get Najee moving, if we get him moving slightly lateral and then upfield at the same time, which is where those stretch plays come in. And when I'm talking about like the 6 or 7 holes, of course, for those that don't know, the 6 hole, which is usually going to be on your right hand side, those are the even numbers of holes. The 6 hole is actually going to be in between, or excuse me, just outside of the tight end. So to kind of basically break it down real quickly, um, even numbers are going to be to your right. A 0 hole is going to be in between the center and guard. 2 hole is going to be in between the guard and tackle. 4 hole is going to be just outside that particular tackle. 6 hole is actually going to be outside of the tight end. Um, and then the 8 hole, of course, is going to be far outside. Um, Vice versa with the odd numbers, 1 hole, same difference. It's going to be in between center and guard. Center and guard. 3 hole, going to be in between guard and tackle. 5 hole, going to be just outside the tackle. 6 hole, I'm not 6 hole. I'm sorry. 5 hole or 7 hole rather is going to be just maybe like a couple of yards outside of that particular left tackle if there's no tight end, and then the 9 hole is actually going to be far outside on the left. Um, but yeah, I think that if we do stretch plays with Najee, and the line is up to task, that has to be important. The line is actually up to task, and also more importantly, the guys like tight ends or if we have someone in the backfield with Najee, those guys have to actually be able to do their job. There have been several instances when I've watched film on this that these guys have actually missed blocks. And because they have missed blocks, it has blown up the plays. So hopefully this week, while we were working on fundamentals and being able to be in correct positions at the correct time, that we have these guys that are more likely to be lead blockers, which include receivers and tight ends, that they are actually able to finish blocks and do what they need to do to help the running game along. If that does not happen, then again, Najee is going to have very, very limited production. So hopefully I'm wrong on that, but I do see a game where Justin Fields may rush for over 100 yards and Najee has 37. Moving right along, the passing game, I believe, with Justin Fields at the helm, I think will probably be a bit better. Now, he's not going to put up the numbers that he put up against Indianapolis. I think that he'll probably put up a solid maybe 220. Hopefully, he is able to pass for a touchdown. But I'm looking for Justin Fields to again be effective with his feet. That means that he may pass for a touchdown. He may for another one, or maybe another two, like he did against Indianapolis. I'm looking for Justin to be able to utilize things like rollouts. I'm also looking for him to perform well with quarterback designed runs. I'm also looking for the zone read. I think that that would benefit both him and Najee as far as a running attack. And if that actually works well, then we have a pretty good chance of being able to kind of control the clock and put Dak Prescott and company in that position to where they're having to play catch up. Um, I also think that our tight end Pat Fryermuth would be a good weapon to utilize, um, especially with a strain on Dallas's defense. I think that there's going to be special attention paid to George Pickens, but I also believe that George Pickens is actually going to win his matchup against Diggs. The reason that I think that he'll probably win it against Diggs is Diggs is more or less a feast or famine type corner, okay? Um, while he does get several turnovers and makes spectacular plays, um, if you beat him on a route, you beat him on a route. Now, while George Pickens is not the most polished route runner, I do believe that there are going to be several instances where Diggs is going to be too aggressive, and I think that if Pickens is able to, um, excuse me, if Pickens is able to either perform a double move or if Justin Fields buys enough time, Pickens can actually separate himself from Diggs and win that particular matchup. Um, I also believe that again, Pat Fryermuth may be able to be pretty productive as a threat in the middle or center of the field. The reason I believe that is because yes, while there is good linebacker play on the inside for Dallas's defense, I think that they'll probably be preoccupied. Excuse me, preoccupied trying to make sure that Justin Fields is contained, that Pat Fryermuth can actually leak down the field. Um, I think that if he's properly utilized, he can give Dallas a whole lot of problems. I also think Calvin Austin III, which is our speed receiver, could give Dallas a lot of. I think that if he is able to break through some, break through the zone coverages just kind of by sitting down or moving into the holes in the particular zones that Dallas may have, then he could be utilized and may be able to provide a back-breaking play that could put the Pittsburgh Steelers on top of the Dallas Cowboys, pause, permanently for the remainder of the game. Now, I do think that Dallas's defense is probably going to be better, or is probably going to perform better than what it looks like on paper. Which is why I was trying to give Justin Fields maybe a solid 220 yards as opposed to maybe 300 or more. Um, I think that the safety play in Dallas could be questionable, but honestly, um, again, I think that they are going to perform better than what's on paper. I think about the 2020 game that we had in Dallas, and even though Dallas was statistically down, um, they put up quite a fight with my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers and nearly won that game. So I'm expecting the same thing on Sunday, but I do expect us to actually come out on top. Now, as far as Dallas's offense goes versus our defense, yes, on paper it's supposed to look lopsided. It appears as though, oh, if we cover CD Lamb properly, then we win the game. Here's what I am deathly afraid of, okay? My beloved Steelers have a bad history of having either former players or players that have performed well against us in the past kind of resurrect themselves when they get ready to play us. This means that Ezekiel Elliott, yes, him, may have a good game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's why. Last year, when he played for the people up in Boston, whose name I still won't mention because they've taken several Super Bowls away from us, and I still hate their guts. Um, when he played for those people, he was able to catch passes out of the backfield. He was able to run effectively. And he looked like the Zeke of old, not the old Zeke. This is what I'm deathly afraid of. I am deathly afraid that Zeke Elliott may turn into 2016 Zeke Elliott all of a sudden on Sunday night and make things very, very difficult for us. Now, I'm hoping that that's not true. I'm hoping I'm way off. I'm hoping that I am dead wrong. But unfortunately, sometimes our history shows us, especially Steelers, that these players that have either had good history with us or have been on the team at some point play very well against us. And I don't think at this point Zeke would be any different. Again, I hope that I'm wrong, but I do see Ezekiel Elliott um, severely outplaying his counterpart Najee Harris in this game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zeke Elliott had a triple digit game rushing and had some pretty good chunk pass plays to boot as well, and a touchdown, of course, to boot as well. Um, but while I'm saying that, I think that it's also very important to make sure that the tight end is actually contained as well. We have a bad history with tight ends, despite having like a very high ranked defense. I'm thinking that if we are able to, let's see, if we are able to maybe play maybe some shell coverages to where we can at least bracket Zeke and then just be able to kind of monitor tight end, maybe like a cover four or a cover six, um, then we probably stand a better chance of just trying to contain the passing game as opposed to just trying to completely shut it down. We're not going to be able to completely shut down Dak Prescott. Um, there are too many avenues that he could utilize for us to try to do something like that. Now, we may be able to give him the Lamar Jackson treatment and contain him maybe rushing the ball, and then force him to actually just try to dink and dunk passes. Now, yes, um, Dak Prescott is comfortable doing that, but for how long? I honestly believe that at some point, if he is meticulously just dinking and dunking for maybe 5 air yards each pass, Dak is going to get greedy. I think that he is. I think that he is going to want to launch one to kind of stick it to the Pittsburgh Steelers to show that he's unafraid. And I think that's where he could possibly make a mistake. And I'm thinking that if if Minka Fitzpatrick or even Deshaun Elliott, who has played well for us, is in the vicinity, then we can get the ball. We could get the ball back. So I would probably look for something like that to happen as well. As far as maybe Dak wanting to try to get a big chunk play as opposed to what the defense is actually giving him. I think as long as we're able to kind of keep a lid on that particular passing game, Dak is going to get impatient. Okay, I have seen a little bit of tape on Dak, of course, being down here in Dallas. There are going to be times where he does actually push the envelope. Um, Now, most of the time, to his credit, he is very patient, but at some point, he is going to want to try it. I think that, um, I think that Minka knows that. I think that Deshaun knows that. I even think that Joey Porter Jr., our cornerback, knows that, as well as Dante Jackson, the other corner. If we are able to make sure that we stay disciplined and do what we are supposed to do when we are supposed to do it, this could be a very winnable game. But for whatever reason, I think that this is going to be a knockdown, drag out type of game, which will be entertaining for fans, but I think it'll be very stressful for both fan bases. um, I also think that special teams could probably serve as a big element in this game as well. I mean, the offense and defense matchups are particularly intriguing, but I think the person that actually, or the unit that actually has the better special teams, could get the edge in this one. Now, I'm not sure how Dallas's special teams work. I know that Aubrey, their kicker, is comparable to our kicker, Chris Boswell. Um, Aubrey, I believe, has hit field goals from longer distances, but of course they were indoors. And I, you know, and I think that for that reason, the kicker matchup is very intriguing. But I'm talking about the punt return matchup, and I'm also talking about the kick return matchup. I think that Turpin does seem to be a more physically gifted returner than Calvin Austin. But I think that our special teams, who's coached by the legendary Bobby April, is probably going to be better prepared. And I think that we may have either a field goal block or a punt block, or an extra point block, of course, or maybe even a good punt return, um, that would probably help us as well. I think that Coach April has the special teams unit very well prepared for this one. I think that our kick coverage will be okay. I think that our punt coverage should be okay as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how we do on special teams as well. Um, but I think that the edge goes to us with the special teams as well. So as far as who wins what matchup, I think that as far as our defense goes, I think that as far as run defense goes, we may actually be startled or surprised by how effective the Cowboys are actually running. I think despite what it says on paper, I do think, or I am deathly afraid that Zeke Elliott is going to have a good game. I am also um, I'm also very wary that or I'm also very confident. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. I think I'm very confident that we won't let CD Lamb be too productive or overly productive on us. But I definitely am afraid that Zeke Elliott is going to have a good game. And for that reason, I think it's going to be again a lot tighter. So as far as the run defense goes for my Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think that we'll do well probably at first. I think that we'll probably wind up containing it a bit as the game goes on. But I think, yeah, we are going to get punched in the mouth with the run, and then just be very much in shock as to why or how that happened. I think as far as pass defense, we'll be okay. Um, I see maybe 2 sacks as a team for the whole game. I don't think that we're going to wind up getting a whole lot of sacks on Dak. I hope I'm wrong, but I see us getting maybe 2 sacks. Um, so as far as the pass defense goes, I think that will probably be effective, but not as effective as some of us actually think. Um, Now, as far as our running game, again, I think that our running game is going to do very well, but it is going to be non traditional. I do not think that the traditional running back getting a whole lot of yardage or triple digit yardage this game is going to happen. I think that Justin Fields may actually get triple digits running the ball, but I do not think that Najee is going to do well this game. I just don't. Um, Now, as far as passing the ball, I think that again will be effective, but I do not think that we're going to wind up being like this great over the top, um, putting on a full display, um, prime Patrick Mahomes type passing game. I think that it's going to be effective. I think that we'll probably dink and dunk most of the time, and then we may get one over the top play. I think that's what we've actually been doing so far anyway. So yeah, we'll do a lot of dinking and dunking, and then um, when the safeties actually just kind of come up, then we may be able to just kind of go over the top and get them that way. But yeah, I just kind of see us putting up a solid pass game. Now, I do think that Pat Fryermuth may be featured a little bit more. I do think that even though I think that George Pickens is actually going to win a one-on-one matchup with Diggs, I still believe that Fryermuth is probably going to be a big factor in this particular game. I think George Pickens would probably have maybe a double-digit game, maybe I'd probably say maybe 5 catches, 65 yards, possibly a touchdown. But I don't think a whole lot is going to be going on as far as him just putting up triple digits again, things of that nature. I think that he'll probably have a solid game, but I don't think it's going to be spectacular. I think that's where Fryermuth comes in. I think that he'll have a solid game. He may be even able to get another touchdown. I don't think that that may happen, but I think that he'll still have a solid game. We also have a guy named Darnell Washington at tight end, who has been able to be effective as well. I think that he may be an X factor now that I think about it. So I think the passing game from the tight end position may be able to help us kind of get over the hump. Again, I do think that the special teams will contribute as well. Now, I also believe, having said all of this, that my Pittsburgh Steelers would probably be able to pull this one off in a very close game. I'm going to give it 24 to 20. Final score: Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that it's probably going to wind up being originally like an Indianapolis game, to where we are unpleasantly surprised by the run as opposed to the pass, and that we wind up having to battle back, and this time we're actually successful. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. I want y'all to check out my LDBC brethren, Coach 67. My brother has sports shows that he has, on YouTube and all social media platforms. Um, his show is usually on Saturdays around, I would say, 2 or 2:30 p.m. He also has a show with my other brother, Cadillac Red, um, Thursdays, and I believe it's I don't want to say it's Coaching Corner, but I believe it's Coach's Playbook. That's what it is. And he actually hosts that with him probably right now. Um, and again, thanks for tuning in. Um, and that's on YouTube. My other brother, Jared 11 Green, who just was gracious enough to drop by, he has a show called the Southern Baller Show that comes on Sundays, usually around 3:30 Central Standard, also on YouTube. Please check that out. He has great content. Um, Also, please check out my brother, I Am Trill Will. Will works every day on YouTube, and he is actually trying to help raise political awareness with us as black people. And I think that that's vital and very important. So thank you, Will, for trying to, make us aware and fighting the good fight. I also want to thank my brother Junior the Truth. He has various shows on YouTube, and he has his own network, which is the Punch Junkie Network. Um, and I think Junior has Black Coffee Club, and it's another show that he actually has besides the Punch Junkie. I just can't bring myself to think about it, but usually he performs in the mornings, usually around I would say 7 a.m. Central Standard. Um, Usually on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I still believe. And he has some very insightful content. Please check him out. He is indeed the best secondary educator in the entire world. All right. Well, I think that's my time, y'all. Thank you so much again for tuning in to It's Just Me, hosted by Brent Fox. Peace.